Virtual Man are locked together at 1-1 in the second match of the day.
Thank you. The first frame, Ian Martin to break.
So our referee is Thepchaiya Wollaston. And it's Ian Martin who gets to break off. Hasn't officially got a tour card, Dave, but he was 9th on the Q School Order of Merit as he breaks off and goes to the incorrect side of the blue, which wasn't a good sign. But 9th on the Q School Order of Merit, he should get into a fair amount of tournaments.
1.
Yeah, we'll see as the season goes on, but it's a bit of a into the lion's den in this group, isn't it? You know, he's up against 3 ranking event winners, Jimmy Robertson, Thepchaiya and Nooh and Marco Fu. So it's a very, very tough group to come into, and already Thepchaiya has got going in frame 1 here.
6.
Looking like a 3-way fight for this group, but obviously this match is vital for Thepchaiya because Jimmy Robertson won 3-0 against Ian Martin, so I'm sure Nooh is looking to match that. He plays the last match, of course, against Robertson tonight. Marco Fu still in the mix, of course, after the draw.
Yeah, the Lions Den, I think that's a good way of putting it. It's one of the tougher groups we've had. And in fact, I think overall
15.
today, even on table 2, that group is uncompromising also. Overall, I think perhaps the best day for the quality of all of the players combined.
Hard to believe that Thepchaiya and Nooh nearly dropped off the tour last season. Plummeted down the rankings, points coming off. Of course, was one of the issues from the Thepchaiya system, but anyway, stayed on, and you expect him to rise up the list again. Of course, he qualified for the Crucible. Gave John Higgins
30.
a bit of a match in round 1.
We've just had Wimbledon, and I suppose if you want to draw a tennis analogy with Thepchaiya, he's like one of those players capable of winning inspirational rallies and doing wonderful things, and then putting a
38.
a simple forehand into the net.
Well, he didn't hang around in that Marco Fu match. His average shot time is 15.5 seconds. So that's seriously quick. Not that that guarantees you anything, but that's how he plays. Of course, he won that shootout. There was no sign of any concern about the shot clock. Well, be concerned about that. He didn't intend to catch that red. So that's a mistake.
46.
Very good recovery, though.
47.
Just took a moment there, focused on the pot, and back in business. And already he's up to 54.
54.
Now the plant, yeah, he's taking a look at that for future reference. Seems on to me. Not his best, far from it. Okay, he's on the black, but look where the cue ball is.
Thepchaiya Nooh, 55.
Yeah, so it was a swift effort, that, but it has come to an end at 55. Still 7 reds on.
One.
Yeah, I mean, he could run for cover, of course, but the other option is try and pot the blue. He's opened up the reds quite nicely. It was a tough one. It was a positive shot choice and could have led to good things, but the blue didn't threaten the pocket in the end, so Thepchaiya with another chance, leading by 54. But that is a massive let-off. I think Ian Martin, just looking at him in his seat, thought the frame was over there. In fact, he's got a good chance here.
And this frame already is a microcosm of Thepchaiya and Nooh. The slack positional shot onto the black and then a very surprising miss. Oh. But if Martin continues to play like this match will be over in double quick time.
Yeah, he's confused about that. Of course, he had that chance in the first frame against Jimmy Robertson, who also actually made a 55 break against him and was clearing up nicely, missed the green. And that was the start of his woes in that match, and things have not improved here. He's let Thepchaiya know off the hook in a big way, actually. He needs another red, and it should be 1-0 to him.
Seven. Eight.
That was frame ball. This is insurance.
14. 15. 20. 21.
So reminiscent of the most renowned speedster from the 80s and 90s, Tony Drago. When he's flowing, he makes the game look crazily easy.
27.
But at any moment he could
28.
make a mistake.
$34. Thepchaiya, Nooh.
There's that
34
mistake I was
and
telling you
different.
about. Although in this instance it was purely academic. Breaks of 55 and 34 mixed in with a few mistakes, and Thepchaiya and Nooh quickly leads Ian Martin 1-0. There's a smoothness about the game of Thepchaiya and Nooh. When he's in top gear, he's a joy to behold.
The second frame. Thepchaiya, Nooh to break.
And from the way the first frame went in this match, I just get the feeling that Ian Martin is really struggling, and if he continues to do so, they'll be shaking hands sharpish. Now that's more like it. That was a quality shot.
Yes, I mean, there's no, there's no rhyme or reason to it, really, is there? Because he missed that dolly red, didn't he, to the left corner earlier? But that red, far more difficulty strokes in, and that's a sign of what a good player he is. I guess one of the issues for someone like Ian Martin is, of course, he has a full-time job,
6.
runs his own business, so that doesn't leave a lot of time to practice. He's not a 20-something, maybe has the opportunity to do that. So opportunities like this to play in these sort of tournaments can only be a positive.
7.
That's gone wrong, but the very fact he's here today playing these top players can only be good experience for him. Of course, he had that good run in the shootout in 2021, got to the last 16 there. I know he really loved that.
Blue ball.
He's back here at the Morningside Arena on Saturday, actually. Takes on Chang Bingyu in the European Masters qualifiers.
Ian Martin, 7. Touching ball.
Actually, in those European Masters qualifiers, Dave, Thepchaiya Nooh has been given a really tough early assignment against a former world champion, Graham Dott.
Yeah, there's some tough matches coming up in that qualifying section. Ooh, a little flick. It was handy.
Thank you.
Just allowing Tatiana Wollaston, the referee, to just check the line in case that cue ball has to be put back. Bought the red too thick. So Thepchaiya was a little fortunate to get that flick, but Ian Martin could still see the edge of the red. He just caught too much of it, and that's why given Thepchaiya Nooh this chance.
1.
Sort of doing that thing where he sort of can't bear to watch from his seat. Thepchaiya, of course, he had got in the 16. He was played in the Masters. He got up to number 15, but it was a sort of perfect storm. Firstly,
7.
he wasn't winning matches. That's the main thing. But then he had big points coming off. He'd been in a big final in China, so on the 2-year system that came off. He'd already lost the shootout points as well, and started cascading down the ranking list.
8.
And, well, it's great that he stayed on. I mean, you wouldn't want to lose him from the tour, but it just shows it can happen to anyone if you get on a bad run.
Yes, and the way the circuit is, if you do well at the World Championship, it can paper over some cracks.
14. Fifteen.
Well, Thai snooker's on the up, isn't it? Because, of course, there's Thepchaiya, there's Noppon Senkam, who got to the second round at the Crucible. Deshawat Poomjang's got his tour card back. We're not yet to see him. And, of course, the Women's World Champion,
22.
Nutcharat, who we've already seen in this event. He's also on tour. And the Six Reds World Championship will be back in Bangkok in September.
23.
Yes, you're looking at a former winner. Captured the title in 2015. and was runner-up to Mark Williams in 2017.
Yes, and James Wattenaar, the man who kind of started it all,
29.
he recently won gold medal at the Southeast Asian Games for snooker, so he's still playing. Not on the main
30.
tour anymore, but still playing, still representing Thailand.
I've never commentated on six reds,
37.
Dave. Must be quite a
30.
challenge, because you got a lot of very tight frames. The highest break isn't 147, of course, it's 75.
Well, it can be very quick. Actually, it can
45.
be over quickly, because obviously once those reds
46.
are broken in the first shot, they can all be on, they can all be potable. But it can also get very nervy, as you say. It's never sort of caught on in a big way. Obviously, we have the World Championship in Thailand, but you know, when it came along initially about a decade ago, there was sort of talk
53.
about could threaten the traditional game. Never happened. But equally, there's nothing wrong with having
54.
one event a year. It is quite popular, I think, in Asia. Well, there's 5 reds on here, and Thepchaiya and Nooh
60.
only needs one of them with a big colour, and he's 2-0 up.
61. $68. 69. 69.
Not the smoothest delivery of the cue. The yellow doesn't find the pocket, and even though Nooh is 62 ahead with only 51 on the table, Martin comes back. Now, the reason for this, he's just about in that free ball zone. One snooker,
One.
which yields a free ball. Could be enough, and after that kiss off the green, it was imperative he dropped nicely on a high value colour, and he's done so.
Yes, I mean, realistically, he's unlikely to win
8.
the frame, but I think he's also looking for table time.
Nine.
Nothing wrong with that one, was there? Terrific pot. So, going to leave the last red on the table.
$15. Ian Martin, 15.
He's played that nicely, so he's 47 behind, 35 on. Now, if Nooh does miss the red here and leaves a free ball, with that free ball plus black, then red, black and all the colours, Martin could force a respotted black.
Well, this shouldn't be a free ball, should it? Even if he misses it.
Foul.
But I tell you
Ian
what,
Martin, 5. Free ball.
it's incredible, really. I mean, there's so much space there not to leave the free ball.
I was saying that for purposes of information, Dave, without any thought he would. For someone as experienced as him, for someone as talented as him, well, that's just unforgivable.
Problem is, as you say, he would need the black off. So for example, the yellow, he's not got much of an angle to get on the black. Oh, he's looking at the blue.
Extension.
But it's raised the stakes suddenly, hasn't it? And I mean, the frame looked over, but it could be a big error.
It's okay.
Well, you can't roll in behind a free ball, but what if he were to pop the yellow and then get a really good snooker off his next colour, which he'd be entitled to do, nestle in behind that, where the blue is masking the red? That would make an escape potentially extremely difficult.
What are you playing? Free ball or
Sorry, I'm playing blue, free ball.
blue?
Yeah.
Okay, blue ball.
Yeah, the referee's asking for clarification, so he's taking the blue as a red. Laying down for the black. It might have to be pink now. But even so, this frame feels a bit closer.
1.
Pink, it's one snooker needed. If he takes the black, obviously you've got to get it, then he can still tie the frame.
Ian Martin 1. Frame conceded.
A
Frame
Nooh
Thepchaiya.
entitled to breathe a sigh of relief there. Ian Martin looks at Thepchaiya as he walks back to his chair and concedes. And so, a Nooh leads 2-0. Ian Martin 2-0 down, and Thepchaiya Nooh, well, so far, typical from him, really.
23.
He's produced
Ian
a
Martin,
curateeg of a performance, breaks of 55, 34, 69, some really good stuff. And some strange shots.
Yeah, just to correct something I said at the end there, actually, because of course Thepchaiya fouled the blue, so could actually, with the black there, Ian Martin, he could have won the frame. The pink, which was easier, he could have tied the frame. Chose the black, missed it. But on another day, Thepchaiya Nooh could have been punished there. Ooh, nearly a lovely fluke.
And that's what you see when someone hasn't played an awful lot in these conditions. Just striking the ball a little too hard.
Meanwhile, what about these shoes, by the way, that Thepchaiya Nooh's got on?
He was like something from Game of Thrones.
Get a chance to maybe see them in detail shortly.
1.
Yeah, not crocodile shoes, are they? More Stegosaurus.
Well, they're certainly distinctive. It's interesting, people talk about the dress code a lot, but actually, well, he's not on the red, that's the first thing to say. I was going to say,
8.
players, even within restrictions for various tournaments, have an opportunity to be a bit more distinctive in their choices, working within the rules. So you hear them complain about the dress code sometimes, but they have a choice to be a bit more individualistic.
Thepchaiya, Nooh,
Still
8.
tried to pot that. He couldn't quite accept he wasn't on it properly, so he set up an immediate scoring visit here for Ian Martin.
Well, that was a classic example of someone who was hoping the red could go, when really he knew it wouldn't.
1.
Pushing out the boat, not advisable. Can tell you, by the way, Mitchell Mann and Matthew Stevens, they've just drawn 2-2 over on table 2. So the first 2 matches
Ian
in
Martin,
Group
1.
21 have resulted in draws. Can't imagine this one's going to, the way Martin continues to err.
Yeah, he's a little embarrassed maybe that he's not producing the form he obviously can produce.
1.
But as I was saying in the first match, you know, these are very different conditions to what he's used to, and also there's a lot of attention on him going out live around the world. It looks like Thepchaiya will probably get enough chances
8.
to win this match. Having said that, he's going to be opening reds up here, playing this one. Yeah, so kind of had to get that. You know, he's not guaranteed to win 3-0, and of course if it ends 3-1, for example, then that lost frame could really be costly. Just a little bit slapdash at times from Thepchaiya and Nooh today.
One. Eight. Ian Martin, 8.
He's a fine player, Ian Martin. If you saw him down at his local club, he would be unrecognisable to this. Of course, on the TV table, against a world-class opponent, under, as Dave said, heavy scrutiny. It's all very different.
Yeah, and I think once you start making sort of basic errors, you know, you're maybe not in the right mindset. You can see in the background there, he's not a happy chappy.
5.
Yeah, 2 draws on the other table, so, you know, if that pattern continues, then the high breaks may well come into it. Mitchell Mann made an 80 against Matthew Stevens, so obviously that's
12.
put him in the driving seat over Matthew. And
13.
Stephen Maguire's made an 87, so he's top at the moment. Very early days still, but worth following that.
Let it just flick off the reds rather than have that fullish contact.
20.
So it arrested the movement of the cue ball,
Thepchaiya, Nooh,
and
20.
he's out of position, having to play safe. Now that was a radical improvement. Very good shot. And where the balls are, if Martin can get in, there's no reason why he can't make a sizable break. Make himself feel better.
Well, it's a great red, isn't it? And like you say, definite scoring opportunity. So Thepchaiya and Nooh, maybe he's not been as clinical as he could be. And like I say, if he loses this frame, even if he wins the match ultimately, it could be very costly on the countback. Because, of course, he's already drawn a match. Jimmy Robertson beat Ian Martin 3-0.
8. Nine. Ian Martin, 9.
No excuse. That was just elementary.
I think that's the worst thing today, isn't it? He's landed in a very tough group, but he's had a lot of chances. If he was just outplayed by these guys, then that's something you can accept. But what will annoy him is he's had the chances, he's had the openings, and not been making very much from them. So very frustrating for him. But delight for Thepchaiya. Maybe this is the visit he needs now to get this one. There again, he's sort of finished nowhere there, just betwixt and between.
7.
So it's a bit of an ordeal for him in a match he may still win 3-0.
Thepchaiya, Nooh, 7.
Now, although the cue ball went back into baulk and the blue also was nudged down the table, there is a path through to the red, as you can see.
One.
He may just have made his mind up to go for this. Oh, well done. That was a big shot, wasn't it? Probably end the match had he missed that. But I think by now he's just decided, as I say, to go for it.
4. 5.
If the blue will go, that will be his
Blue
colour
ball.
of choice. Yes, he can swing the cue ball in and out of baulk here.
Ian Martin 10.
It was going to be one of the biggest days of his snooker life, and as so often is the case, it's turned into a word that Dave used, an ordeal.
1.
And still, Thepchaiya Nooh has difficulties with the positional aspect of the game. After that, though, Dave, I think the end could be nigh.
6.
Well, it should be. I mean, it's not been the smoothest passage, but as I say, he's just had enough chances. But he's got a
7.
big match coming up later on, of course, against Jimmy Robertson. Now, a lot can happen before then. Robertson's got to play Marco Fu. Fu's got to play Ian Martin. It's a three-way fight in this group for top spot, and every frame will count. So, really important. He puts this away now and wins 3-0. And the
Thepchaiya
ping's
Nooh
not
7.
in. He's sort of crawling towards the line, but he's not over it yet.
So often we see one visit snooker. This is one mistake after the next snooker.
One. Seven.
The black was the only awkward ball on the table. Pay dividends.
Twelve.
Well, this could be really big in the overall group standings if he can take this frame. Apart from anything else, you know,
16.
Thepchaiya hasn't won the match yet. He could end up 2 each. That would be a disastrous result for him, actually.
$21.
Slightly overrun here. Still needs pink and black. He's a tall guy, though, isn't he? Even so, he does need the rest. Well, what about this?
27.
I mean, how many chances did Nooh have, Phil, to win this match 3-0?
I think it's, as I said before, a microcosm of his career.
34 in the frame.
Thepchaiya
Ian Martin.
Nooh lost that frame because he was so wasteful of opportunities. Too slack. Ian Martin missed so many balls. How did he win the frame? And of course, he could still salvage a draw. Frame 4 coming up next. Thepchaiya and Nooh should have won this match 3-0. The handshake should have already occurred.
Frame 4.
But
Thepchaiya,
despite
Nooh to
missing
break.
a lot of balls, Ian Martin was given chance after chance, and eventually he cleared last red to black to give himself the opportunity to maybe gain a 2-all draw here. What a travesty that would be, considering how the play had gone for 2 3/4 frames.
Well, Thepchaiya Nooh's put himself under it by not clinically closing out the match. I mean, if you look at the previous frame, he could have lost that after the free ball. Absolute priority for him now is to win. Another draw's not going to be any good to him. But 3-1, remember Jimmy Robertson won 3-0 against Ian Martin. He's still on the back foot, but he needs to win.
1.
And he would still have a chance, of course, of winning this group. He's one of those players, you can see why he's so popular, actually, because it's a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it, following him? Not dull, certainly.
8. 9.
And Dave, as you will know, he makes a habit of putting together maximums.
Well, for a while he made a habit of missing the last black, but thankfully he's made some since then.
16.
Yeah, UK final, missed the last black, and then later that season the World Qualifiers. Now Matthew Stevens looking good
17.
next door, frame 1 against Sejarweed. Just broken down there on 81, but has won the first frame. Remember, the first 2 matches have both been drawn there.
Twenty-four. Thepchaiya Nooh, 24.
Now, that wasn't a gimme, but it's the kind of pot you expect him to knock in. Of course, he was chasing the black. That was the issue.
One. Three. Four.
The red just about creeps in, and now ideal on the black. Tell you what, Jimmy Robertson will be watching this with interest, because if it is a 2-all draw, when the next session begins at 5 o'clock, Robertson's first into action against Marco Fu, and a win for Robertson
11.
in that match would see him top the group with a match to spare.
Twelve.
Yeah, and that would be extraordinary, actually, wouldn't it? When you consider at the start of the day, I think everyone agreed, there were 3 strong candidates to win the group. Marco Fu by no means out of this yet himself. Meanwhile, he's left this awkward now. Cue ball close to the side cushion. But rolled it in nicely. It was a good little clearance he made in the last frame, because all sorts of things had gone wrong before then, and that'll just make him feel better. Now he's won a frame. And if you could take a point from the match, then better.
Ian Martin, 19.
Those final stages, or the second stage, filling up nicely. Tomorrow, actually, is the midpoint of the Championship League, Phil. Day 11 of 21.
One.
Yeah, it's been really intriguing so far, actually. We've had upsets, some big names going out, some excellent snooker played.
A lot of the players who we've spoken to have said they feel this is an ideal first event of the season.
6.
Get 3 matches. It's one thing, so you know you don't just play and if you get beat you go home. You got to have action all day, and they're sort of easing their way back into the season. Got qualifiers
7.
coming up at the weekend, and then from sort of September time the tournaments come more regularly.
Eleven.
Now, that really was world class. Not just spotting the red, which was a tough assignment in itself, but at that pace, look at the position on the black.
Nineteen. Thepchaiya, Nooh, 19.
Well, he's absolutely determined to get the match won now, so he's prepared to wait for another chance. Hang on. Ooh. He and Novin Sengam, they didn't fare so well in the pool, did they, the World Cup?
Well, they were appalling. Nopon came off the table afterwards, big smile on his face, as he normally has, just shaking his head and saying, it's like an ice rink. It was in the sense that they slipped up quite a few times.
Yeah, I think the way pool's taken off, a few of the snooker players are starting to look at it as something they maybe should take more seriously. I think a lot of them have watched it in the past and thought, oh, that looks easy, but of course the specific skill set you need, certainly tactics, and obviously the break is a big shot in pool, which the snooker players are still learning.
One.
Now, what a pot that was. Looks like being for just a single point. Needs delicacy here if he's going to get in behind the green. That will do.
Thepchaiya, Nooh, 1. Foul. Miss. Thepchaiya, Nooh, 4.
Appreciably short of the reds, which is something he couldn't afford to do because he's left the lone open red.
1.
That was beautifully
6.
timed.
7.
Yeah, this looks like the end now. He needs another red after the black. It's not been plain sailing. He had a lot of chances to win 3-0, and losing one frame here
14.
Has put a serious dent in his chances of winning the group, but he's by no means out of it yet. He's got, of course, the match with Jimmy Robertson later, and by
15.
that point he will know exactly how this group stands. But it looks like he's going to have to win that match pretty clearly.
$22. 23.
Yes, after the first session, these two, well, they've gone in opposite directions. And Nooh will top the table.
30.
Ian Martin will sit at the foot of it.
31.
Well, do stay with us, because after this match we'll be going to table 2 to watch Matthew Stevens and see Jia Hui. So the
37.
action continues.
39. 42.
So breaks of 55, 69, and 42 unfinished. Make that 46.
46.
So on the face of it, not bad, but he really does need to tighten up. Stand a chance against Robertson.
51. Foul. Ian Martin 6. Thepchaiya 51. Frame
After
in
his
the match.
3-0 defeat by